Didn't I tell you? So, I'm in a mood this morning. No, it's a good one. Have you ever known me to be in a bad mood when I get up here? You know, when I come here on a Sunday, I am so free. I just allow. I try to allow every day in my life. But today I just have this, you know, when I walked in, I really did. She was singing and it just took me. And I know what I'm talking about today. Thank God. But I know what I'm about to talk about today. And so let me just go to two of those lyrics. It's in the bridge when she says, if my life could be, all my life should be. If my life could be, all my life should be. So there's two things there. The first one is a question of whether or not my life can be something different from what it is. You know, it poses the question, can your life be different? Can you live a different experience of your life than you're living right now if, for instance, you decide that's what you want? Is that possible? Now, I would have to believe that if you are sitting here today, you are sitting here because you believe that. Because that's what we teach, that's what we believe. Change your thinking, change your life. It is done unto you as you believe. There's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And you can use it to change your life. So, if my life could be, then I have to know that that's true. That there is a possibility that my life can change. If my life could be, all my life should be. Now I go to the second part of that. And the second one supposes that my life is supposed to be something. Now I wonder, do I really buy into that? Is there a thing that my life is supposed to be? Should my life be something? Should your life be something? Is there something your life is destined to be? Is there something you are here to do? Is there someone you are here to be? Good answer. I don't know why, it's just filling me today. Should our lives be something? In the lyrics it says, to truly give my all. To truly give my all and to answer to the call. To truly give my all. I'd like you to ask yourself this morning, are you really giving your all to your life? Are you really putting the power that you innately have into your life all the time? And I got to tell you, that's not as exhausting as it sounds. It's not. It's, are you living your allness? To truly live my all. To answer the call. Last week, Michael Gott. Did you love Michael Gott last week? I loved listening to him speak. I love bringing people here who can say things in a different way, perhaps. A way that maybe opens up another door. And then opens up a door for me. So, last week he quoted from Ernest Holmes in Ernest Holmes' Sermon by the Sea. Now I want you to picture this. You know, Ernest Holmes, in one of his last sermons, was at Asilomar. And we're about to start talking to you about what Asilomar is. It's a week in Monterey, at this beautiful, beautiful grounds with the ocean at our back door. And Ernest Holmes stood in a building very much like this. One of the first things I said when we walked into this room is, oh my God! In that high-pitched voice, I said, oh my God, this is so much like Asilomar. It feels like Asilomar. And it does. You know, the wooden beams, the high ceiling, the kind of rustic nature of this. So Ernest Holmes stood on a stage very much like this. And in that stage, it was the chapel. The back of the chapel is completely open to, it's just glass, so all you see behind him is the ocean. It's breathtaking. So in that sermon, what he really did was pose a calling to everyone that was there at that lecture. And what he said was, and Michael Gott quoted this last week, he said, give me one man who is for something and against nothing. Except, Michael ended it there as though that were the sentence that Ernest Holmes said, but it wasn't. What Ernest Holmes says was, give me one man who is for something and against nothing, and I will find another Jesus, is what he said. So no matter what your relationship is to Jesus, and I would imagine most of us have come here, unless you're Jewish, most of us have come here. I'd love to know this, actually. How many of you come from a Christian background? Okay. How many of you come from a Jewish background? Okay. How many atheists? How many agnostics? How many heathens? Just kidding. Oh, every hand goes up. We're all heathens. Okay. So no matter what your relationship is to Jesus, my relationship to Jesus is that there was a man that walked this planet who was for something and against nothing, who spoke love, who taught love. So, is that what I want to give my all to being? Is that what I am called to be? Am I called to be Jesus? Am I called to be not the man Jesus, but the Christhood that we talk about? Am I called to be that? You know what? For me, yeah, I am. I am. And all of a sudden, I have something more in common with my born-again Christian Assembly of God minister brother. And you know what? I'm happy that I have more in common with him. I'm happy that I have more in common with the Muslim and the Jew and the Christian and the agnostic and the atheist and the new thoughter. How come we always get an ER at the end of ours? And the new thoughter. New thought thinker. I'm happy because you know what? The day that we all have something in common is the day that we stop fighting one another. And that's where we need to go. So is there something in us that's telling us what we should be? Or is there a calling? Is there a call? Are we being called forth to be something more, to do something more, to express something more? And I think the answer is yes, and that is what I would like to give my call to. So is there such a thing as destiny? I know, we religious science thinkers, we don't like the idea of destiny because it means someone's telling us what to do. And we do not buy that. I don't want to hear that you think there's something I'm supposed to do. Anybody else have that issue? Wow, you're a good group. Well, I have that issue, and I'm going to address it today. So, the definition of destiny: a predetermined course of events, often held to be an irresistible power or agency. A predetermined course of events, often held to be an irresistible power or agency. So, predetermined. Is there something in my life that is predetermined? Is there a destiny in my life that is predetermined? And the answer is yes. There really is. There is a good in my life that is predetermined for me. There is joy in my life that's predetermined for me. There's success in my life that's predetermined for me. There is love in my life that's predetermined for me. There is health in my life that is predetermined for me. Because it's all God, it's all good. That means it's predetermined that I know it's all God and it's all good. That's my destiny. Dana just went, okay. So to the degree that I decide that's my destiny, now I have my calling. Now I know where I'm going. Which the song so beautifully, beautifully talks to us about. The title of my talk today is Destiny Rides Again. Now, how many of you know the movie Destiny Rides Again? Okay, it's really the same story. It really is. Marlene Dietrich and Jimmy Stewart. Destiny Rides Again. Jimmy Stewart, well, first of all, they kill the sheriff because they don't like that he's breaking up their gambling games, right? And Marlene Dietrich is this, really cool saloon gal. And so she's really excited that they gave this sheriff job to this other guy who's so weak that there's no way he's going to fight them. So now they get to run their little town their way, their little western niche their way. And so, but what they don't know is that the guy they hire as the weak sheriff, he really follows the teachings of this guy named Destry, who was this incredible lawmaker. Jimmy Stewart shows up as the representative of Destry for that philosophy, and he decides to run the town. He's now the lawmaker without a gun. Can you imagine the humor? All the guys must have thought, you're kidding me. They probably put their hands on their hips and said, you're kidding me. So now Jimmy Stewart's taken over. And anyway, by the end of the movie, everybody, understands that this is the way to do it. Because Jimmy Stewart doesn't need a gun. He's got the power in his mind, in his heart, in his soul. He knows his destiny. He knows the good that is his. He knows he doesn't have to fight for it. He knows he doesn't have to carry a weapon. And eventually, they all do too. But not until Marlene Dietrich dies. She goes to his side and says, he's right. And they shoot her and kill her. And then they're all depressed. And then they realize, oh, he's right. And everybody's happy again. And he rides off into the distance. Good overcomes bad. And Marlene Dietrich, I thought, how do I deal with the fact that she dies? Then I realized it's a metaphor. The bad dies away. She transforms herself into a heavenly creature and she's happy again. So Destry Rides Again is all about destiny coming front and center in everybody's lives. Realizing the power is there, that there are no guns needed, there are no tools needed. So this song that Nadine sang this morning, it would suggest to us that if we allowed destiny, or destry, to do what it does best, we could, and I quote, go without knowing, do without doubting, face without fearing, give without glory, love without limits, go without knowing wherever God may lead. So, is God leading you? That's what I'm here to ask us this morning. Is God leading you? Are you letting God lead you? Are you letting something bigger than the immediacy of your mind lead you through your life? Have you, as Reverend Rita said, recognized those self-inflicted prisons that we so often put in our minds? Have we stopped looking at our past and stopped making decisions in the present based on the past? Or are we willing to, in this moment, turn our attention to Jimmy Stewart and actually get the message that the power is right here to have in this moment, as Reverend Rita said? Is God leading you? Do you let God lead you? Did you let God lead you this week? If so, where did God lead you this week? Now, you may say to yourself, well, you know what? Let me tell you where God led me this week. I ended up in front of this situation that was not so godlike. And yet, I'm going to have to say to you, yes, it was. The problem is, we don't see with the eyes of God and allow ourselves to see God in everything. We just sing it on Sundays, apparently. But it's time for us to actually give it our all and really see God in everything. Not just the things we decide are godlike. Everything. Say it with me. Everything. That means everything in your life is there for a reason. And there is good to be had. Ernest Holmes, in the Sermon by the Sea, also said this: find me one person who no longer has any fear of this universe, or of God, or of any man, or of anything else, and you will have brought to me someone in whose presence we may sit, and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. Find me one person who no longer has any fear of this universe. That actually, for all of you practitioners and practitioner interns and practitioner hopefuls, I wanted to say, but I hate that word. People who wish to continue and learn how to be a practitioner, that's what a practitioner's job is. You should be that one person that when I sit in front of you, everything vanishes except the truth. Now, that can't happen just because you speak some fun, great, articulate words. The best practitioners have been the most inarticulate people I've ever sat with. There's an affirmation. Please bring me in a practitioner who can't speak. But really, it's not about the words. It's not about how clever you can be. Do you or do you not sit with your allness in the truth that all there is God? And everything I do, say, speak, or live is God, and therefore is good. Find me one person who no longer has any fear in the universe. So in other words, find me Jimmy Stewart. Find me someone who can show up and dismantle me of all of my weapons. Find me someone who can show up and tell me, you don't need weapons, you don't need boundaries, you don't need walls, you don't need your fears, you don't need your past to tell you what to do today. In fact, don't look there. Open your mind and listen, and you will hear exactly what God is trying to say to you. In Matthew, I shared this morning, in Matthew, it says, in God, all things are possible. In God, all things are possible. This morning on CPR, in our Clore Prosperity Relief program, that quote popped out to me, in God, all things are possible. And you know, I'm not a Bible thumper. I like reading the Bible now because I find metaphysical truth in it, and I'm not so put off by it anymore as a book that's trying to tell me how to live my life. But I do find a great wisdom in it. So when Matthew says, in God, all things are possible, it means something completely different for me. When I am, and when I allow my mind to step into my God power, when I allow my mind to step into the truth of who I am, that right where I am, God is, and God is my mind. In God, in my mind, all things are possible if I allow my mind to be the mind of God. In order to allow my mind to be the mind of God, and in order to allow all things to be possible, I do no longer have the luxury of thinking things that is contrary to that. And neither do you. So when this song calls us forward and asks us to live our allness, to give it our all, to what we should be, to who we should be, it doesn't mean that there is some predetermined thing for me to do in this life. It means that there is a calling, a message that's coming through me that's saying, let me lead you. Let me guide you. Let me guide your every question. Let me guide your every answer. Let me guide your every decision. Come to me first. Come to me first. Don't go to the internet first to find out what the answer is to this question. Don't go to Google, go to Godgle. Come to me first. It is the Father's good pleasure. God, I'm turning into a Lutheran minister. No, that's not a bad thing. Let's not be judgmental. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Another thing that I found in CPR, you know, I love CPR for me. I'm finding out so much about myself and about the truth. CPR this morning or yesterday. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. We keep thinking that the kingdom is the Father giving us our riches and giving us all our stuff, don't we? It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, to give you success, to give you a great lover, husband, to give you great things. And I say thank you. 24 years and counting. What a great pleasure of the Father. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And guess what the kingdom is? I got it. I finally got it. The kingdom is your mind. God gave us our minds to use. That's the kingdom. That's the Father's good pleasure, to give me the kingdom of my mind. My mind to rule over. I get to decide what is thought, what is done, what is decided. What a great gift. What a breathtaking gift. So if it's the Father's good wishes, whatever that quote was, to give me the kingdom, the Father's good pleasure. How can I forget that? It's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. And in God, all things are possible. Then there is a divine destiny. And it is time for me to decide to let destiny ride again. It's time for me to really, really get back up on that horse, but throw the reins away. And know that I'm being led. Can you just figure that? Can you just feel that? Can you imagine that? To be so free, to be so driven, to be ridden by something so powerful and so positive and so absolute that you never have to get involved again in the piddly little crap. And I mean that. The piddly little crap. Because there's a lot of it, isn't there? On this side, there's a lot of it. No, but things show up. I hear it all the time. Things show up, and they show up, and it says, maybe God isn't all there is. Maybe there's God and problems. Maybe there's God and issues. Anybody have issues? Well, that's also God. God is in the issues. The issue is, are you going to see God? I found that clever. So, your destiny. I think it's time we give over to this concept of destiny. What do you think? Wow, and the thunderous silence shows up. Well, I'm going to give over to this concept of destiny because I get it. I really get it. And I hope you do too. This message doesn't end today as I end. And in fact, I don't want any applause today when I'm done. That's a big, I'm fighting myself on that. As I said it, my mind's going, are you insane? No, but I don't. I don't. Because guess what? Oh my God. It really is time for us to go through our life without knowing what we think we need to know. But to go through our life not only without knowing, but with a great knowing. To do the things we are here to do without doubting that we can. To do what we are here to do without worrying that we can't. It's time for us to face our life completely without fear. And it is time for us to give what we give this universe without the glory, without the applause. Because the glory and the applause comes from the living. My greatest gift, the greatest applause I ever get in my life is at the end of every day when I lay next to that man and I remember what a gift my day was and how much it gave to me. To love without limits. To stop putting walls around our love. To stop being afraid to just love. Just love. Even the people that you think you shouldn't love. Oh my God, the names are going through my head. And most of them are in the political landscape. I have to love those people. Even in my household, I have to love those people. I have to be able to love what's different from me. And to go without knowing wherever God may lead. So, I'll just ask you today to get back up on your horse and restore law and order to your mind. I'm going to invite the band back up, please. So to restore law and order to your mind. And namaste, come up. Because your mind is ruled by one law and one law only. And that's that whatever you believe, that's what you get. It is done unto you as you believe.